Hello friends, welcome back to the fascinating world of anthropology. So friends, today let us try to start our discussion with a short story. So try to listen this story carefully so that you can learn something from this story. So friends, till 1960, we used to believe that only humans has had the tool technology and use of tool technology. That means humans used to use the tools. So that was the belief that we had. But in 1960s, what has happened means there was a woman and there was a lady who just walked into the Gombe forest of Tanzania and she just observed something that is unique with the curiosity. So that was that there was a chimpanzee which was just picking up a stick and it was just scraping the termites from the plant. So that moment of the incidents that changed the entire history of the anthropology, which has revolutionized the concept of evolution. So from that day point of view, so the concept of evolution has changed. So till then what we used to believe, that has been changed completely. So that means the narrative has been changed. So the women who walked inside that Gombe forest of Tanzania was the brave lady and the woman with a lot of patience, with empathy and all the care with respect to the chimpanzees. So she's none other like our Dr. Jane Goodall. So Jane Goodall was one of the important influential anthropologists and primatologists that we have to study in anthropology. So friends, try to listen this carefully because this could be one prospective and important topic that we can expect in the coming up year in the examination. So friends, why we are just talking about Jane Goodall now? So actually we are making this, or we are doing this discussion from the perspective that Jane Goodall has expired and she has passed away from the world, so at the age of 91. So she has immensely contributed to the field of anthropology. So in the honor of Jane Goodall, so we are just having this discussion. So I hope you have got the context. So that means very recently, so 2-3 days back, so Jane Goodall has passed away. So this is one important thing that we have to keep in mind. So UPSC will always tries to pick the concepts that are currently in use. So this could be one prospective topic from that particular aspect. So let us try to give a tribute to Jane Goodall and let us try to recall whatever the contributions that she has done to the humankind. So that would be our major quest in this particular discussion. So is that clear? Shall we start the discussion? So friends, first, if we try to understand or if we try to look into various aspects about Jane Goodall, so Jane Goodall was a British animal rights campaigner. So she has extensively campaigned and advocated for animal rights and she belongs to the British school. So there, like, she was also a famous primatologist and a renowned anthropologist. So that's where we have to study about Dr. Jane Goodall. So then, if you look at other aspects, so she was a tireless advocate for the protection of our natural world, and particularly she has advocated and she has dedicated her entire life in spending with the chimpanzees and understanding the various aspects related to chimpanzees. So why chimpanzees? So if you happen to see from the anthropology perspective, so friends, chimpanzees and bonobos are considered as the closest relatives in the animal kingdom for human beings. So where we can expect around 97.8%, that is around 98% of the DNA of humans will match with the chimpanzees. So that's where she was interested and she picked up and she started studying about the chimpanzees. So she was a tireless advocate of the protection of the chimpanzees. So this is one another important thing. Now, Jane Goodall was more than a conservationist. She was a beacon of the passion of all the life. So this is another important thing. So she was not only a mere wildlife conservationist, rather she was a beacon of the curiosity of the life. So where actually what has been done means, so usually when we are entering into a forest, imagine a situation. So at that time, what we will do, we will have to have some sort of weapons so that like there could be some wild animals which may attack us. But what Goodall has done, so Goodall has simply had a notebook in her hand and a binoculars on her neck, and then she just walked with these kind of weapons with infinite patience. So this infinite patience has changed the entire narrative of understanding of the chimpanzees and particularly the primates. So that is one thing. So then apart from that, if you see, Jane Goodall was awarded the Medal of Freedom from the then President Joe Biden. So she has also had some credibilities and some credible achievements that she has awarded the Medal of Freedom from the President, that is the then President, that is Joe Biden. So that was one another important thing. So long back in 2004, she has also got another award from the Britain. So that is one another thing. So we are going to watch it. Then, so as she passed away, so United Nations has said that she was an extraordinary, she left an extraordinary legacy to the entire human world. So that was statement that has been given by United Nations. So this is one thing that we have to remember. So with this basic understanding, let us try to move ahead and let us try to see some of the basic and important aspects from Jane Goodall's life. So first, look at this image. So Jane Goodall, actually this was a pic that has been taken when Jane Goodall has had a first trip to Africa. So what she has done at this, she made revolutionary discoveries in her first trip. So what she has done, she went back to see the chimpanzees and gain their trust, and as seen in the picture. So this was a picture that has been taken in the year 1987. So after entering into the forest in 1960s, then she has again went back to the Gombe forest in 1987, and you can see here like how she is sitting and there is a chimpanzee and the chimpanzees are very near and closer to her. So she gained the trust of the chimpanzees by merging with them, so by mingling with them. So that was one another important thing that you can see in the picture. Then if you see at the next picture, so Dr. Jane Goodall was best known as primatologist and who revolutionized the study of wild chimpanzees. So you can see that she has extensively studied the wild chimpanzees, and for studying that, so she is known as the wildlife conservationist, particularly with respect to the chimpanzees. So this is one another thing. So this also you can see in this particular picture. And then just have a glance of this. So as I have said, so Jane Goodall has received America's highest civilian honor, that is the Medal of Freedom. So you can see here, so that was one another achievement she has had. And before to that, when she was, like it was in 2004, she also received a damehood title from Britain. So this was another achievement she had for all her contributions with respect to the anthropology, primatology and the wildlife conservation. So this was one thing. So these were some of the pictures. So in her last interview to BBC, in fact, she has said that Dr. Goodall warned that there could be a sixth great extinction that is happening. So it's a kind of warning that Jane Goodall has given for us. So now now we have to just think about this particular aspect, and we should see that the great extinction should be either postponed or could be prevented. So that is one another important thing. So this is something very important. So then, if you look from the perspective of her contributions, so she had done a groundbreaking field research. Groundbreaking field research means, in fact, Dr. Jane Goodall was a person who had done the field work with a different approach till no one has done. That means, if you see from the perspective of the anthropology, in field work you will have different methods of observation. So amongst that, so Jane Goodall has picked different way of methods. So where she has adapted a naturalistic and empathetic observation method. So naturalistic and empathetic method. So what is this naturalistic and empathetic method of observation? So she has become one of the member among the chimpanzees, and slowly she started gaining the confidence of the chimpanzees, and then she studied about the chimpanzees in a detailed manner. So with what approach? With a participant observation kind of thing. Participant observation in the sense like she became one of the member and she tried to just mingle with them, and then she has done that thing. So that is one thing. And then if you see in 1960 what she has done, she began the long-term study of the wild chimpanzees under the mentorship of Louis Leakey. So Louis Leakey was another important scholar. So under the leadership and guidance of Louis Leakey, she has done that. She has started her work and she has done extensive contributions like that. Then she spent extensive time in the field and gained the trust of the chimpanzees. So gaining the trust of chimpanzees, that means wild animals. It's an unconventional approach at the time. So imagine a situation of 1960s and 1970s. So when there was no scientific developments to that level, and at the time, in fact, she was not even a scientist. So she was a normal woman. So a normal woman with a notebook in her hand, binoculars in her hands, and she walked in with extensive patience. So that was the only thing that she has done. And in fact, she proved that the knowledge or that doesn't matter, but empathy, patience, and the curiosity of humans will redefine everything. So that's how, with this extensive groundbreaking fieldwork research, she has revolutionized the anthropological understanding of the primates. So that was one thing. Then another important discovery that she has done is that discovery of the tool used by chimpanzees. So in fact, if you could able to recollect, so there was a previous year question in prelims also that, so which of the following animals will use sticks to scrape the termites from the plant. So I hope you can recollect that question. So that was a question. So answer for the question was chimpanzees. So that discovery has been done by Jane Goodall. Now, in fact, you can see in these images that, so chimpanzee is using a stick to scrape the termites ants from the plant. So can you see here? So this is another important thing. So this discovery has been done by Jane Goodall. So Jane Goodall, what she has done, she observed chimpanzees making and using the tools, and apart from that, stripping the leaves of the twigs to fish termites from the mound. So that is another important thing. So chimpanzees were plucking the leaves, and it was using those twigs to scrape the ants. So that was another important observation that she has done. So this was the first recorded instance of non-human tool manufacture. So till this discovery, we used to believe that only humans used to have the usage of the tool technology. But now what has happened? So with this discovery, it was proved that the tool manufacture and tool use was also there with respect to the other animals like chimpanzees. So this was one other important thing. So this discovery forced the scientists to redefine the man as a tool maker. So try to understand that. So with this discovery, so we can also call Jane Goodall as the woman who rediscovered the humanity. So that's another important aspect that you can have. So it was a landmark shift in the anthropology which has redefined something new. So that is one thing. So try to remember that she was one person who had immensely contributed, and she helped to discover this particular aspect. So is that clear? So now look at this. So she has done another important project, that Gombe chimpanzee project. So Gombe forest of Tanzania, which is located in Africa. So there she has started one project, that is chimpanzee project. So that is famously known as Gombe chimpanzee project. So the Gombe chimpanzee project, in fact, it became one of the longest continuous fields of field studies of any animal species. So this is another important contribution that we have to remember, because if you see what it has done means, this project has provided invaluable longitudinal data on the chimp behavior, reproduction, and the culture. So how chimpanzees were reproducing, how chimpanzees culture is unique, and how chimpanzees culture has revolutionized and changed the perspective of the understanding of human evolution and the evolution of animals. So that was one thing that we can get from this Gombe chimpanzee project. So that is one thing. So apart from that, the chimpanzee's behavior also has been systematically studied with her efforts. So that is another important contribution that we can learn from the Jane Goodall's perspective. Then her research model inspired similar long-term ethnographic style studies in primatology and behavioral ecology. So if you see from the perspective of Jane Goodall's contribution, once Jane Goodall has started this method or this style of observing the animals, later on many scholars and many anthropologists and primatologists, they have started following Jane Goodall, and she has left an invaluable and an incredible legacy, so that all other ethnographers has started using her style of ethnography. So that is one another important thing. So this is one another thing that we have to remember from the perspective of Jane Goodall. And then other important contribution was that, so she was a wildlife conservationist and she was a wildlife advocate. That means one another contribution was wildlife conservation and wildlife advocacy. So what she has done, so throughout her life, she has established an institute called as the Jane Goodall, the Legacy Foundation. So Jane Goodall's institute, so she has established, and in that institute, she continued to put her efforts to save the wildlife and advocate the aspects related to the wild animals. So that was one thing. So what she has done, so beyond scientific research, Goodall has been a global advocate for wildlife conservation and animal welfare and sustainable living. So this is one another important contribution. So you have to remember this. And then she founded Jane Goodall Institute in 1977. So look at this development. So in 1977, long back, so she has done it, and which supports the research and which supports the community-based conservation and which also supports the youth environmental programs like Roots and Shoots. So remember, this could be another important aspect that you may expect in the examination. So the youth environmental program like Roots and Shoots. So remember this, try to learn more about the Roots and Shoots kind of programs, right? So Roots and Shoots and like community-based conservation methods. So all such things were one of the important contributions of Jane Goodall. So that is one thing. Then not only this, like her later work connects primatology with the environmental ethics and global citizenship. So this is one another important thing. So you can see, so primatology with environmental ethics. So connecting primatology with environmental ethics, so that has been done with the greater contributions and with the legendary works done by Jane Goodall. So that is one thing. So friends, try to remember all these contributions, whatever she has done, because her contributions are very, very central in anthropological studies, particularly in understanding the concept of primatology. So most of the aspirants will feel primatology as the toughest portion or difficult portion in anthropology. But in fact, dear friends, if you try to learn something with curiosity, everything will be simple. So try to have patience and try to have an immense empathy and try to do things differently, like what Jane Goodall has done. So one of the message that Jane Goodall gives us is that if you have a good patience and if you have a good empathy and if you have the infinite curiosity, learn something, then you can watch the world differently. So that's what she has done. And the same message you can take, that if you use a different approach, so there is everything that you can have from the perspective of the Jane Goodall's contribution. So then if we look at the bottom lines means like what, how we can conclude. So Jane Goodall's work transformed the primatology purely from the observational science to a holistic, empathetic and ethical discipline. So if you see, so she has started with the observation method, but this observation method has contributed to more than this. So where the in fact, anthropology particularly, it became holistic and it became empathetic and it became an ethical discipline. So that was one thing that we have to remember. And then next, if you see, so her contributions extended far beyond the chimpanzees, and her contributions extends to reshaping our humanity, how it perceives itself in the natural world. So as we used to believe something, but the narrative has entirely changed. So that's what we can expect and we can have from the contributions of Jane Goodall. Then today, so if you see from the perspective of today, so today she stands as a symbol of scientific curiosity, and she stands as a symbol of compassion, and she also stands as a symbol of environmental stewardship. So all these were nothing but some of the important credible aspects that she has gained in her entire life. So this is what all about the Jane Goodall. So with all such kind of groundbreaking contributions, so Jane Goodall, we can say that Jane Goodall is nothing but the woman who redefined the humanity. So why we are saying it as who defined humanity? Because from the studies of Jane Goodall, so we can able to see that our entire perspective of understanding of the anthropological studies have changed. So this is what from the perspective of Jane Goodall. So friends, let us try to give a tribute to Dr. Jane Goodall this video, and try to read more about Jane Goodall, because there is every possibility that UPSC may pick this particular concept and it may just ask in the examination. So that's all for today from my side. So let us meet in another important discussion in another video. Till then, take care. Signing off. Thank you all.